My name is Father Bob Flickinger, and I was born in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I went away to New Jersey and California, and eventually South America, came back. I've been involved in work at St. Thomas More, which is a student parish in Kalamazoo. My first work here in Southwest Michigan was here at in Hartford at Immaculate Conception. I was pastor there for 5 years. I went to Paw Paw for 5 years, then a couple more years in Hartford, and then back to here to St. Basil's.
I was born in Arizona. My parents were living out in Tucson. My dad grew up in Kalamazoo and my mom in Jackson. So they moved back here, and pretty much I've lived here in West Michigan the whole of my life.
The story that was passed along to us was the fact that about the time Christopher Columbus thought he discovered America, we were warring with the Mohawk people, and there was no resolution to the war. And so we decided, well, we would just merely move. And when they stopped, they made a huge camp in this area. They'd asked for permission to the Ottawas and Chippewas and those people who already were living here if they would share the land, but they wouldn't give us permission to stay. We were already in the center of their territory. All we had to do was work outward, and we warred with them for the right to have this land.
I was born in Far, Texas in 1936, and I got educated in Texas, in McAllen. I'm a retired school teacher. I was offered a job with the migrant program. I taught English as second language, migrant bilingual, for 43 years.
And here I am. I knew that was me. I could tell them bony legs right there. James.
I'm third generation owner of the same land, and I'm fourth generation on the land, and my grandchildren are 6. The history says that the guy who founded COVID, when they asked him for the students for school, he just gave total numbers. He never broke it down into race. All the children always went to school here, black and white always went together. So that's how it started. But even in the 1800s, whoever was here just jailed.
Oh. Yes, I used to love it. Yes, Miss Woods, she was tougher than she was Miss Woods.
Was she?
Oh, she was a good teacher.
She's outspoken. Her and I were even...
That's the first thing I noticed when we moved here, was how kind people were. Ma'am, is there anything I can do for you? Or do you need anything? Can I help you find anything? I mean, it was just phenomenal. Just phenomenal. And I think sometimes if our migrant population felt that, you know, even a small piece of that, they'd want to stay. Or they would be maybe so fearful of going out and about if they didn't feel like people weren't going to be welcoming them.
4.
No, ayer estuvo lloviendo, ahora en la mañana.
Allá se lo llevaron.
Ahorita el sol, está bien bonito.
Sí. ¿Y te quieres esperar?
Ya les va el buen tiempo.
The immigrant population has kind of grown slowly over quite a bit of time, over 20, 30 years. There's kind of been a slow becoming part of the community.
My dad came over from Mexico, and he worked on the farms there. He also worked in the slaughterhouses. He liked what he saw. He would come back and forth. He did not have his papers, so he was an undocumented worker then. He finally rose to my mom. They got married, and then he would bring my mom over.
Me vine de México porque la vida es muy difícil en México. Yo no tenía papá. Mi mamá era la que trabajaba, pues ella hacía unas gorritas que como panes y las vendía para que salía a los ranchos y le daban maíz o un pollo así, y con eso mi mamá nos mantenía. Pero ya tenía yo como 15 años y yo no tenía zapatos todavía. Entonces una vez mi mamá siempre me decía, mire hija, y esto es su papá, vaya, salúdele para que le dé algo. Pero una vez mi papá me agarró y me hizo para acá. Dijo, no me andes saludando, dijo, porque me ponen vergüenza. Anda descalza y todo. Pero mi mamá no podía comprarnos zapatos porque apenas nos daba de comer mi mamá. No tenía con qué comprarnos zapatos. Y mi papá nos había dejado.
Yo vine buscando un mejor futuro para mis hijos y para estar la familia reunida, porque yo estaba en México sola con mis hijos y él estaba aquí.
Yo no recuerdo la fecha, pero llegué desde el 86 a Los Ángeles. En la frontera te dices, Dios mío, iré a volver a ver a mi familia, o sea, uno viene sin nada, no vienes, pero uno trae muchas cosas, traes un beliz lleno de ilusiones, traes sueños, traes esperanzas.
Lo único que me daba mucha tristeza de que llegamos pues con 2 cambios de ropa y luego vinimos aquí a la iglesia y en ese entonces nadie nos dijo pues aquí damos ropa, en tal parte dan comida o algo, y pues sí fue triste porque llegamos con $20 y con $20 pasamos toda la semana comiendo huevo y frijoles, entonces fue triste.
Donde llegamos fue allá a La Grulla, Texas. Llegamos y vivimos, no teníamos dónde vivir. Cuando llegamos el primer día, luego nos introducieron al asadón y pues yo estaba tan chiquita que empezaba en un surco y salía. En vez de irme derecho me iba para otro surco. No sé qué era lo que andábamos asadoneando, pero era como fruta, y estaba tan chica que tenía unos 6 años. Eso lo hicimos por unos 2 meses y de ahí fuimos para Illinois. Y en Illinois ahí pescamos espárrago.
As soon as we were old enough, my dad would take us all out there, you know. We picked every crop. We picked strawberries, asparagus, which was my least favorite because you have to cut the stalk really, really low and you work in hot sand and there's no shade. The shade is so far away, it's like an oasis. I felt like I had a sentence. It was like I was in prison at times.
Mi Andresito tenía unos 10 años, andábamos en el pepino. Me acuerdo Andresito, y bien delgadito mi hermano, y es blanco, es bien blanco él, y traía los cachetes bien colorados del sol tan caliente que estaba y lo duro que andábamos trabajando. Y nosotros nomás piscando, él le tocaba llevar las cubetas al troque. A veces me pongo a pensar que pobrecito no se desmayó. Los soles estaban en los 90s.
No me gustaba el trabajo de la labor para nada y mi esposo decía que era muy sagrado, pero no, será sagrado, pero no gana nada y andan todos mojados y revolcados en la labor.
My mom said it best was like, gosh, you know, this is such hard work, you know. We need to settle down. She would tell my dad, why, it's endless, this row of blueberries. My dad would reassure my mom and say, things will get better. We're working now, things will get better, you'll see, we'll have our own little place. The kids, be in school, they'll do better than us eventually.
Me acuerdo cuando andábamos en el espárrago, miraba los carros pasar porque había una calle grande. Ay, quisiera andar en uno de esos carros porque está tan caliente aquí. Ay. Se me hacía duro. Se me hacía duro. Como no quiero hacer la labor que es... nada negativo, pero sí, fue un tiempo muy duro para nosotros.
Stayed here at the age of 7. never went back to my Texas heaven. Didn't know why we had to stay, why we had to work and play in Michigan. The teacher changed my name to something she could say with ease. Losing all my pride and dignity, she could never understand what my name really meant to me in Michigan. Saw the sun rise and the sun set, worked the fields I won't forget. Saw my dad hanging from a tree, holding for dear life. You see, his ladder fell in front of me in Michigan.
It was extremely hard work. I have not forgotten how hard work that is. Working in fields definitely made me a stronger person. I think all of us, all of my brothers and sisters would say that. Hard work, it's good. It makes you appreciate things. A meal on the table, a roof over your head, clothing on your back. You should give thanks to God for that.
I don't have a problem with paying people a decent wage because I get a good worker then. You ask any of these young people, if they think minimum wage is nothing. So if you want somebody to work for you no matter what it's doing, if I like picking berries well enough that I'll do it and do a good job, why should you not want to pay me?
And I think we have an interest in making sure that everybody is fairly paid and stuff so that we don't have abuse in the work world where wages are being lowered for everybody because other people are allowed to be treated badly. I mean, a lot of people don't want to do a lot of those jobs that people are willing to come here and do. And so they're not really taking away jobs from anybody that's doing them.
Si no fuera por los migrantes, aquí todas las cosechas de Michigan no se harían, porque necesitan de la mano de los migrantes para poder hacer todo ese trabajo. Y muchos están creídos de ellos que nosotros venimos a quitarles los trabajos. Y no, yo por ese lado digo, deberían de ver que si no fuera por nosotros, no se harían los trabajos.
Most of the people, especially here in the church, I think are welcoming. I think that sometimes a lot of the non-immigrant people, especially those of us that are more from Anglo background, are maybe not always understanding where the other people are coming from. They don't know the story that might be behind their coming here, traumas that they experience.
You know, their stories are incredible when you hear their stories about their lives and what they've come through. And you know, we had one mother who has 5 children, and the father, they all went over to visit the grandmother because she was dying. Well, the mother was born in the U.S. and so were all the kids, but the father was not, and they detained him, and now she's separated from him. And I think, you know, those are things I wouldn't have in a million years ever worry about in my own life, you know. And what would it be like for them to be here without a lot of support and have the one person who should be supporting you not able to be with you? You know, they have a huge load, a huge load.
I drive by this guy north of Newaygo, pick him up. He's got apple dust all around his mouth here. He's been eating apples. Real light jacket. It's in the fall. It's like October, okay? And I mulch him over, and he gets in the truck, and it comes out he had walked up to and hitchhiked up to Newaygo, but he was from Hartford area. Mexican guy, Roberto. Now, I don't understand any Spanish, He doesn't understand any English, but we're pulling this off, okay? And he made it up to Newaygo because he heard they were picking apples up there, and when he got up there, they didn't need any help, so he was going back to Hartford. That's why he was walking south on M37. So all he wanted was a ride to Grand Rapids so he could get on the bus there and end up in Hartford. And he wasn't hitchhiking, he was walking. So I enter his life for less than 48 hours. We get to the bus terminal in Grand Rapids and he don't have enough money. So I present this proposal to him. We'll put you on the bus. Now you're gonna get there at midnight, and then what the heck are you gonna do? Or you can come home with me and I will see to it that you get to Hartford in the morning. So he trusted me. White-faced guy, didn't know me but for 45 minutes from Newaygo to Grand Rapids. And he hops back in the truck.
We need to do more of that in this world, you know. But people are shy about it, you know. People are scared, and I think we have to get over that. You know. I mean, if you look at what does national TV show us all the time about Hispanic people, they're running away from Border Patrol, they're climbing fences, you know, they're doing all of these things. Well, if you see that all the time, you know, you're gonna get this idea that that's how, you know, and let's put away those visions. Luckily, I've had the experience of being in Los Angeles, San Francisco, you know, San Antonio, Laredo, Texas. Those cities are filled with professional Hispanics, you know, doctors, lawyers, mayors, you know, and we don't see that often enough. You know, we see so you see TV shows, or we see them out in the field picking blueberries. There's a lot out there, really professionals that have so much to offer.
Well, when I first moved into the area, I would look like, what are you doing here? And they would ask me, what farm do you work for? And I would say, all of them. They say, all of them? You can't work with all of them. Then I would explain what I was doing. And then they would say, you're a teacher? And then they would kind of a surprise expression, what do you do for a living? I says, well, I work. I'm a school teacher. But aren't you Mexican? Well, I'm a Mexican-American. Oh, they got teachers? I said, as a matter of fact, we have teachers, lawyers, doctors, and you name it. And I would have to go through a big realm of explaining, because some of these people were really, really in the clouds. But they only have known, and I don't blame them, the only people they have come in contact with was our migrant family that came to work in the summer.
People will look and say, oh, do I want my kid in that classroom? You know, he doesn't look like the normal kindergarten teachers. It's a small minority, it's a very small population that have those kind of impressions that this is what an elementary teacher should look like.
People don't think that I'm a farmer, even among African Americans. When I travel, a lot of times the first response is, you're not a farmer. I can put on anything to work the field, you know, it might be a real pretty dress or whatever, but my biggest thrills would be to come down M140 and the tractor and cars are passing and they're like.
I was at a function, and the mayor was there, and he was from Arkansas. And one of his friends came there, and he introduced this other friend. He says, yeah, this is a teacher that teaches a Mexican how to speak American. I said, okay.
You know, I'm trying to make sure that our school here is much more integrated. You know, and so I'm working on scholarships for that, and I'm making demands on who we hire. That they be bilingual now, and so on and so forth. Well, you don't have that many bilinguals, so I don't care. You know, I want bilingual people here so that anybody walks through will be connected somehow.
I think sometimes that gets discouraged. I remember being told, why are you speaking Spanish? This is America. Why are you talking about me? I don't feel comfortable when you start talking Spanish. But for us, that was our way for us to communicate. And I remember my sister telling me in Texas, they were punished. You know, they were hit over the hands with rulers, and they were really discouraged from learning how to speak Spanish.
The language is real important, because you take away the language, and then you'll see a decline in the moral fabric of that society. And I've never talked to anybody, whether it be Polish, German, Irish, that doesn't regret not knowing their language.
Great-great-grandparents that came from Norway, and then my other set came from Luxembourg. The ones from Luxembourg wound up in Mineral Point, Wisconsin, which is a very tiny farming community. Back then, they were not welcomed. They bought land, they paid for things. It wasn't like, you know, they were squatting on someone's land. Even the churches were not. And you know, hearing those stories as a child, you think, oh my gosh, how horrible that would have been to come over as a young bride and not have your parents there, not have anybody that understands your language, and try to set up a home. I guess it gives you inner strength, thinking that you came from somebody who did that sort of thing.
If you have no history, what's your foundation? If you have no roots, the tree is going to be very weak. When you forget where you came from, I think you're kind of like a lost soul, because who do you turn to?
America, love it or leave it, said the sign someone placed in school one time in Michigan.
I go back to my experience, you know, and it's helped me to understand the newcomer. So when I got down there, I did courses at Catholic University, and after the first 6 weeks, they decided to how to politely tell me not to continue. You know, I had such a terrible accent. It was just horrible. But I had an Ecuadorian lady there that knew I wanted to be there and I was committed. So she put me in her class, and then she terrorized me for another 6 weeks and turned me around completely.
The English language has 44 sounds that makes their words. My Potawatomi language has 15. J-men is canoe or boat. J-ma means kiss. You see how close J-ma and J-men is? It's close. Two different things, though. A kiss is a whole lot different than a canoe.
I was teaching, and I just was getting somewhat fairly good. And I wanted to impress on the kids, you know. I was in charge of my classroom, and so the kids started talking, and I screamed out, "Cállate la vaca!" Shut the cow, instead of saying shut your mouth, you know. Of course, the kids roared, and I didn't know which desk to crawl under. That was so hard, and it gave me a sensitivity to the newly arrived who are struggling. And what I found is that people said if I tried, they were graciously happy that I was trying, even if I slaughtered it.
How would I feel if I had to just up and go somewhere, whether by choice or whether I was just taken somewhere and dropped in a whole new environment or a new surrounding? I always consider how I would feel and how I want people to treat me, for one.
Even a smile. You know, I was talking to this lady the other day in the store, and she says, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Yes." "Why are you always smiling?" I said, "Well, because they say that when you frown, you develop wrinkles." She says, "Are you trying to say that I got wrinkles in my face?" "No, no."
Cuando yo vine para acá, me vine de ilegal también, y yo sufrí mucho. Entonces yo pensé, ahora que yo puedo ayudar a mi gente, yo los puedo ayudar, ¿por qué no ayudarlos?
People would come to our house before the Element Center was open, and they would sleep on our floor. These are people we didn't know. That was, it was really, we just couldn't understand it as teenagers back then. But gosh, what a welcoming for people to come to Michigan and say, hey, this person doesn't even know me. He's opening his door. He's opening his family too. My dad always had this vision, this dream. He said, I want something for my brothers and sisters, where they can come to Hartford, where they can get clothing, they can get food to help them while they establish themselves while they're working here. My mom tells me this story many times.
Cuando estaba él malito, siempre antes de que se enfermara, él siempre hacía oración de que quería tener un lugar donde darle comida y ropa a los pobres. Y estaba muy malito cuando lo íbamos a conocer, el salón alemán. Y dijo, qué triste que se tiene uno que morir para mirar lo que tanto le pide al Señor. Pero ya me voy contento porque ya sé que hay algo para la gente. Y está el salón alemán. Ahí hay comida y ropa para la gente.
We have a lot of great volunteers there. We have people from St. Thomas More. We also have Jerry and his wife that volunteer there.
We're going to church, and you're a little involved, you hear about this, you hear about that. And they are gathering clothes in the late spring, and for many years they put these boxes of clothes in a van and took them to these migrant camps. Well, they wanted to go to the next step. St. Tom's ended up finding an empty store in Hartford. They needed tables, they needed clothes racks, made some clothes racks, and we worked there one day a week, one evening a week, just being servants. Father John Grothwald was a pastor, and we said to John, we got to do better than this. We can do better. We can be more effective. We can reach more people if we had a year-round building. I said, well, we'll help with this. This is what you need. You need a 30 by 40 pole barn that can have a dirt floor. We contributed some money toward that effort. It ended up being a $60,000 building. And he talks to his friends, other business people, and raised the balance of the money that we gave him, and then we have the Alleman Center.
It's easy to love you if you love me. But it's not that easy to love you if you're a little different, or even if you might not like me as well. Try loving somebody that don't like you.
So I think I've learned from them, about hospitality. One of the characteristics always that I find is you go to a person's house, they put a chair out. It's just such a symbol of welcome. They put a chair out and sit down, you're with us, you're part of our family. And so if I can make them feel welcome by, church-wise, by greeting them, offering a service in their language.
Dejó el suelo cubierto con una especie de polvo blanco, semejante a la escarcha, y al ver eso los israelitas...
Enseñó a leer a mi esposo y todo. Mi esposa sabía leer, la que no aprendí yo mucho, pero ella me decía, tienes que aprender a leerse mis alemán para que siquiera el número de tu teléfono para el día que necesites llamar o algo. Ella nos ayudó mucho, Mrs. Brown, yeah.
We go out to the camps, and not that we're there every day or we're there for long periods of time, but they know on Tuesday night there's a group of people that are going to come and care about them and bring them what they need and have fun with them. And for that little hour and a half, it's like a gift, and I think we get more from it than they do.
I've been enriched in the process of working with people here in the church and other places where I've dealt with people from other countries, to be able to gain something from their perspective and their culture, and hopefully maybe they've taken something from me too that's enriched their life. So I think that kind of cultural exchange can be one of the really big benefits of being welcoming.
They don't want me to be Anglo. They don't want me to be Hispanic. They just want me to be me. I forget the other day I was kidding them at a wedding, and he said, "Why aren't you doing this?" And I said, "Well," I said, "you guys needed to get a Mexican priest." I says, "You don't want a gringo doing this." And he looks at me and he says, he pinches me and he says, "Do you feel that?" I said, "Yeah." And he says, "Well, so do I."
We take the risk to get involved in other people's lives because we interpret it as being the right thing to do. If you don't do it, that doesn't make you a bad person. It's just where you're at. Just like Judy said, we're all on a journey. But they're missing out on some incredible peaceful joy.
I saw the moonwalk on TV. Wow, que loco. Someone left the footprint and my flag. The footprint and my flag. In Michigan.
feelings turn